Let me ask you something. What if the plainest little radio in your closet, the one with the cracked case and the dead battery, the one you've been meaning to throw out for 30 years, is worth more than every piece of furniture in the room around it? I've been buying and selling old electronics a long time, and I can tell you it happens. Back in 2009, at a radio auction run by Estes Auctions in Ohio, a 1954 Regency TR1, the very first transistor radio ever sold, crossed the block for $8,500. That was a record at the time. $8,500 for a pocket radio that first sold for $49.95. So before you clean out that closet, let's find out if one of these is sitting in your house right now. Now let me be honest with you, because I'm not here to sell you a dream. Most old transistor radios are worth almost nothing. I mean it. That drawer full of 1970s plastic radios from the drugstore? $10, maybe $20 on a good day. If somebody tells you every old radio is treasure, they're fooling you or fooling themselves. But here's the thing that took me years to really understand. The name on the front, Zenith, Sony, Emerson, whatever it says, that name barely matters on its own. Two radios can say the exact same brand and the exact same model, and one is worth $30 and the other $3,000. What separates them is the details. The color of the case, whether it still works, whether you still have the box, the little leather case, the earphone, the paperwork, whether it came off the very first production run or the millionth one, and the tiny markings stamped on the back and hidden inside. That's where the money lives, in the details most people never even look at. The good news is, once you know what to look for, you can check every one of these things yourself tonight at your kitchen table with nothing but a lamp and your reading glasses. So let's count them down from 10 to 1, and I promise you, the radio at number 1 is one almost every household in America owned at some point. Stay with me. Number 10, the Emerson 888. You'd look at this little plastic radio and think, that's junk, that's a toy. And that's exactly the mistake. The Emerson 888 came out in 1958, and it wore space-age names on the front: the Vanguard, the Pioneer, the Explorer, the Satellite. 8 transistors and nicely built for its day. Here's your test tonight. Turn it over, find the model number, and then look hard at the color. A plain white or black one is common, pleasant, not pricey. But the bright ones, the reds, the turquoise, the two-tone cases, those are the ones collectors chase. And the loss I see most often? People throw away the box and the little booklet because it's just paper. That paper can double what the radio is worth. Don't pitch the box. Not ever. Number 9. And this one has a nickname that'll stick with you. The Toshiba 6TP304, which collectors call the coffin for its sharp, angular shape. It came out of Japan around 1959, and it's one of the most hunted pocket radios there is. What makes it special isn't just the shape, it's the artwork. Toshiba painted the dial from behind the plastic, so the color has a deep, three-dimensional glow that never wears off. Your test tonight? Look at the shape and the color. The red coffin is the one you'll see most often. The gray and the pale yellow are much harder to find and worth more. A clean one can bring a few $100s, and the rare colors climb from there. The mistake that kills the value? A cracked case. That old Japanese plastic gets brittle, and one drop, one crack in the corner cuts the price in half. Handle it like an egg. Number 8, the Raytheon 8TP. Most people never connect Raytheon, a defense company, to radios. But in early 1955, they built one of the very first transistor radios, right on the heels of the Regency. 8 transistors, a real leather-covered case, and it actually sounded good, which the first tiny radios did not. Here's your test. These came in colored leather, tan, brown, and red. Open it up and look for a stamped date. Many are stamped right down to the month in 1955, and an early date makes a collector's heart beat faster. The loss I see? Somebody replaces that crumbling leather with a modern case or swaps in a back that doesn't belong, and suddenly the radio isn't all original anymore. And all original is the whole ball game. Which brings me to something you need to hear before we go further. Number 7. This is the reality check, so listen closely because this one saves you from getting burned. There's a myth out there that more transistors means more money, and that made in Japan automatically means cheap junk. Both are wrong. Let me tell you about the boys' radios. In the early 1960s, Japanese makers got hit with taxes on any radio with 3 or more transistors. So they built little radios with just 2 transistors, stamped boys' radio or 2 transistors right on the front, and sold them as toys to dodge the tax. 2 transistors. By the myth, worthless. And most do sell for $25 to $70, but a few in a wild color in the original box jump well past that, because it was never about the transistor count. It's about rarity, condition, and looks. So don't count transistors and think you've counted dollars. And don't ever assume made in Japan means throwaway. Some of the most valuable radios in this whole countdown came out of Japan. The number, the country, those are clues, not verdicts. Keep that in your back pocket. Number 6, the Zenith Royal 500, the one collectors call the owl eyes for those 2 round dials staring back at you. Zenith put this out in 1955, made in America, and sold a mountain of them over the years. So you'd think, common radio, common price. Not so fast. The very first Royal 500s were hand-wired, built one at a time by hand before the factory switched to printed circuit boards. Here's your test tonight, and it's a good one. Look at the knobs. The earliest hand-wired sets have a little bar running straight through the center of each knob. Then pop it open and find the serial number stamped in the chassis. The lower the number, the earlier the radio. A low serial hand-wired Royal 500, especially in a hard-to-find color like maroon, is a different animal from the millions that came later. The mistake? Assuming every Royal 500 is the same radio. They are not. The guts tell the truth. Speaking of the truth being hidden, before we get into the top 5, let me do one quick thing for you. Everything I'm walking you through here, the colors, the markings, the dating, how to spot a fake, I've put it all together in a plain English guide I call the Appraiser's Playbook. It's the same checklist I use myself before I ever make an offer on somebody's radio, and it's linked right below this video. If you're finding this useful, do me a favor. Tap that subscribe button so the next person cleaning out a parent's house finds this before they hit the dumpster, not after. All right, the top 5. This is where the real money starts. Number 5, the reverse-painted Japanese pocket radios, names you've probably never heard, like Crown, Global, and Zephyr. Here's the misperception. No famous brand on the front, so it must be worthless. Wrong again. In the late 1950s and early 60s, Japanese makers turned these into jewelry. They painted starbursts and jet wings and chevrons on the back of the clear dial cover in gold and red and powder blue, so the design glowed and never wore away. Your test tonight? Tilt the radio under your lamp and look at that dial. If the artwork has depth, like you're looking into it instead of at it, that's reverse painting, and that's what collectors want. And the brighter the case, robin's egg blue, seafoam green, bright red, the more it's worth. The loss that breaks my heart? Somebody takes polish or a scrubbing pad to that dial and wipes the artwork right off, or repaints a faded case. Never do that. Original, even faded, beats refinished every time. And that word, original, is exactly where the crooks come in. Number 4, the fakes, the repaints, and what I call the Frankenstein radios. As prices climbed, so did the funny business. With a radio like the Regency TR1, where a rare color is worth 10 times a common one, some folks repaint a plain case a rare color and hope you don't know the difference. Others take a broken demonstrator, mix and match parts from 3 dead radios, and sell you a rare set that never left anyone's workbench that way. Here's how you protect yourself. Look for paint sitting in the seams, in the screw holes, or over the molded logo. Factory color goes on before the case is assembled, so overspray in the cracks is a red flag. Check that the wear matches the age. A 50-year-old radio should show honest wear where a thumb rides, not a suspiciously perfect finish. And make sure the back, the knobs, and the case all wear the same age together. If one part looks newborn, ask why. When in doubt, walk away. There's always another radio. Now let's talk about the little stamp that dates the whole thing. Number 3, this is your dating clock. The marks that tell you in seconds roughly when a radio was born. Start with the country line. You've probably heard that made in occupied Japan means old and valuable. And on ceramics and toys, that phrase does pin a piece to 1945 through 1952. But no real transistor radio can wear it. The first one wasn't built until 1954, 2 years after the occupation ended. So if a seller swears their transistor radio is occupied Japan, walk away. It's a tube set, a repro, or a tall tale. Now flip to the dial for the clock that does work. Look for 2 little triangles near 640 and 1240 on the AM band. The old Conelrad civil defense marks, required on American radios from 1953 to 1963. See those, and you've dated your set to that decade. The mistake people make is never turning it over at all. Number 2, the Sony TR55. This is the holy grail of Japanese radios, and here's why. In 1955, a little company still calling itself Tokyo Tsushin Kogyo built its first transistor radio, the TR55, and stamped it with a brand new name, Sony. It was sold only in Japan, with just about 50 imported into Canada, so collectors say you may never lay eyes on one in all your years of hunting. When one turns up in good shape, the numbers get silly. I want to be careful and honest here. These are online marketplace sales, not blue-chip auction houses. But a purple TR55 reportedly changed hands on eBay for over $11,000, and another sale was reported at $13,650. Your test tonight? Look at the very front for that early branding, and look for the Sony name on a radio that also says Tokyo Tsushin Kogyo. And the case, check every corner for cracks and stress lines because on this one, condition is everything. Which brings us finally to number 1. Number 1, the Regency TR1, the most famous transistor radio ever made, and I want you to hear the lesson in that because fame and value are not the same thing. This is the one that started it all back in 1954. The first transistor radio the world ever sold, 4 transistors, $49.95, made in Indiana, not Japan. About 100,000 sold that first year, which means they're famous, instantly recognizable, and, here's the part people miss, the ordinary ones are not a jackpot. A plain black, gray, or ivory TR1 in decent shape tends to bring $200 to $400. Real money, but not life-changing. The fortune lives in the color. Mandarin red climbs higher, and the rare pearlescent colors, lavender, pearl white, turquoise blue, powder pink, bring thousands. Rarest of all is the clear-backed demonstrator dealers use to show off the guts. Remember that $8,500 radio from the very start of this video? A TR1. So here's your test tonight. Turn it over, read the color, check for the box and the leather case, and look for the molded logo of the earliest sets. And here's the whole lesson in one line. The name on the front is the story the seller tells you, but the color of the case and the marks hidden on the back and inside are the truth. Learn to read the truth, and you'll never leave money on the table again. So there you have it, 10 old radios and the small, quiet details that separate a $10 drawer filler from a small fortune. If this helped you look at that old radio a little differently, do me a kindness and give it a like. It helps me reach more folks like you, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's the oldest radio in your house, and who did it come from? A father? A grandmother? Your first paycheck? Those stories are my favorite part. Next time, we're opening up another closet, the old cameras. The ones everybody assumes are worthless might surprise you the same way, and I'll show you exactly which to look for. So subscribe and stay with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and go check that closet.